As you're aware, the off-year elections just happened, and the Democrats had some pretty big victories. However, those victories are actually showing a growing divide in the Democrat Party, and this is what's going to be addressed with Bill O'Reilly and Bill Maher over on this real-time episode. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
Somebody has to explain the economy to me, because this is going to be the big issue. Now, we had somebody win in New York, and look, I don't want to, I've spoken against him. He was not my choice, Mamdani, sorry. He's a socialist, a democratic socialist, makes no bones about that. In fact, when he came out, he said, I'm young. Made a funny joke about that. I'm Muslim and I'm socialist, all the things that Obama had to deny being.
It's a supply and demand country. Now, Mamdani doesn't want that. He's not a socialist, he's a communist, okay? Mamdani's greatest quote is, I agree with seizing the means of production.
Yeah.
Okay? That's communism. That's not socialism. Because in order to seize something, you have to use force. And that's what the communists do. So it's supply and demand. And I'm going on a jihad, to please Mamdani, of telling people don't buy anything that you feel is exploitative.
Abigail Spanberger, she's one of the ones who won yesterday, big, in Virginia, okay? She said after the last election, we need to not ever use the word socialist or socialism ever again. So this is a pretty big split in the party. And I understand why people are angry about the economy, especially in New York. How can capitalism be working so well for so many people, and other people it's not working for at all? When you're 30 years old and you still have roommates, yes, capitalism has failed you. And the question to me is, how do we make socialism seem unattractive? Because you're right, it's not, socialism doesn't work. What the young people, I understand where their feelings are. They refuse to crack a book and learn that we've tried it many, many times. It never works. Explain this economy. How some people are eating $36 cheeseburgers. They don't do what you do,
Not
though.
me.
Not you. We know that. You're pure. And other people are voting for socialism. And I understand why they're voting for socialism, because they can't even make ends meet, and they're worried about eating at all. How do we get the economy back to something that looks like what I remember as normal as a kid?
What's going on now has a lot to do with social media and being, addicted to being online, which happened a lot during COVID when people were stuck in their houses and just stuck on their devices, right? That's where kids are getting their information. I have a 9 and a 12-year-old, right? And it's TikTok, it's Instagram, that's where their information is coming from. And there are foreign powers working in on these devices and these platforms, trying to sell this stuff to our kids on all sorts of topics.
I mean, they call themselves democratic socialists. I think they should drop the democratic part, because that means that you have to answer for everything the socialists do. And he's plainly, maybe he is a communist, maybe it's very far left, whatever it is. It's not what we've seen before.
And Republicans are trying to do that. They're trying to make me and others answer for everything he does. What's weird is, I don't remember Eric Adams being the head of the Democratic Party or Michael Bloomberg being the head of the Republican Party, but Republicans are trying to make him now the head of the party. And
because those guys weren't as out of the mainstream of the Democratic Party as he is, but they're trying to make that the mainstream.
But look, Trump got elected because people were angry in this country. That part of the party was angry, and he got elected, and he was their medicine. And they didn't care about all of the baggage he had because they were that pissed off. And I think that's what's happening with Mamdani. Our wing of the party now is pissed. They're angry that Joe Biden ran for re-election. They're angry that, the debate went so poorly. They're angry that, we didn't have a primary. And they're angry that the establishment doesn't seem to get it. And this is the message to us that Republicans were sending with Donald Trump to their own establishment.
And you were disenchanted, and correct me if I'm wrong, which I very rarely am, so you probably won't have to do that. You're disenchanted with the far left wing of the Democratic Party, okay? Because you believe that it's poisoned the well for everybody else, like the congressman here. Am I
Because
correct?
they never met anything that was counterintuitive that they didn't love.
Right.
Should this be the direction the party is going to? He's not the only Democratic socialist. There's about 100 in different offices and places where they've won in this country. I mean, here's a Mamdani quote from his speech. He said, "We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve."
Yeah. Wait till he gets
I can
into
tell
government.
Bill O'Reilly thinks that's
This
ridiculous.
is so crazy. Look, first of all, he won because he was running against Bela Lugosi, all right? I told Andrew Cuomo, why don't you just campaign with a cape on, turn into a bat? The guy was as dour as possible, and it just dilutes the message that the Democratic Party has traditionally had, that we're for the workers. We want to improve the lives of the backbone of the country. Now you're into all this fringe garbage that Americans don't want. I think that's your posture.
No, I wouldn't put it that way, but go ahead.
Okay. But you might want to rethink, because that's a good way to put it.
So I don't agree with Bill Maher on a lot of issues, but he is 100% correct in this vein, right? Socialism doesn't work. And the rise of socialism within the Democrat Party should be considered a scary thing. And as Bill Maher said, the Democrats themselves are responsible for the rise in extremism because there's not a single idea that isn't counterintuitive that the Democrats haven't embraced. And of course, that includes socialism. So why are the young kids trending towards socialism? As Bill Maher mentions, right, why is capitalism failing them? And I can tell you this, right? I've made this point in several other videos, but when you live in a blue state, it's hard to obtain that American dream. Home ownership, a good paying job, affordable living, right? These are the things that are tough to achieve in places like California and New York, right? Because their blue city and state policies make it hard to build new houses, right? And of course, their tax rates are much higher, so you have less money of your own to spend. Not to mention the fact that a lot of these people in the younger generation, especially in the blue states, are encouraged to go into college and take out burdensome debt for a degree that will not give them a return on their investment. And then, of course, to cap all of that off, you have the social media influence, right? TikTok, Instagram, a lot of these run by foreign governments who are actually pushing socialism in this country. So it's no surprise that, yes, the younger generation is trending towards socialism, right? Because they're seeing capitalism fail in their corrupt cities and states. And that leads them to actually believe that the very thing that's actually ruining their lives is going to be the solution to it. And of course, that's what Mamdani actually tapped into. However, Bill Maher made a good point. Mamdani only won New York City with 51%, right? Abigail Spanberger did much better in Virginia, but she's actually coming out and saying, hey, we have to run away from socialism, because she knows that actual working class people are not going to buy into that. But what they will buy into, of course, is affordability. And that, of course, is the message that Republicans have to tap into as well. And that brings us back to the economy. Bill Maher is saying, hey, someone please explain this economy to me, because it's just not making sense. How do we get back to normal? And the first thing I would say is, of course, spending. The biggest cause of inflation is, of course, printing new money from the government. And that is something we've been doing for a long time now, and that just got exacerbated during the COVID crisis. Okay, so we have all this new money coming into the system, and that, of course, causes costs to skyrocket. The second thing, of course, is energy costs. And Trump is actually doing a good job with bringing those down. And of course, that will have a trickle down effect on the rest of the economy, but it's going to take some time. All right. Now, I do wish that Donald Trump would address the overspending and the budget, right? Instead of talking about $2,000 refund checks to everybody in America, I wish he would just say, you know what? We're going to cut the spending levels and start paying off the debt. And then that would have a huge impact on the actual economy itself. But the rest of it is actually supply shortages itself. As I already mentioned, in the blue cities and states where you can't build new housing, that of course is going to cause the price of houses to skyrocket, which is what we're seeing. So of course, if you want to have an even more immediate effect on the economy and inflation, we need to ramp up production, right? We have to actually create more and get it on the shelves, which will drive down prices. So the good news, if there is any, is that socialism still, of course, is going to be unpopular in America and is going to further divide the Democrat Party. The bad news is that, yes, it is actually taking over the Democrat Party, which of course is the other part of our two-party system. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description, where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.